The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
All right, Kyle. When it comes down to it, re-signing free agents in the offseason, should the Canucks re-sign Nikita Zadorov or Dakota Joshua?
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Kyle, what a great non-answer there, but hopefully we'll have more answers for you here on Locked On Canucks. Welcome to another show of Locked On Canucks here. I'm Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, also a Canucks Raider since 2013, currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day. And hey, sometimes it's your Canucks every 12 hours. Thanks to my co-host, Kyle Bhawan. Before we dive into it again, got to remind you, make sure you like and subscribe and follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review if you're feeling so kind, and I'll come to your house and give you a big wet slobbery kiss, because that's what we do here on Locked On Canucks. We're fans first, baby. Yeah, seriously. And hey, before we dive into it, we got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Lots to talk about with your Vancouver Canucks, and yeah, that's why we're dropping episodes every 12 hours. Again, mostly thanks, actually all thanks to Kyle Bhawan. But one of the things we wanted to talk about today is shining a positive angle on the series, and that is Nikita Zadorov, who has been an impact player so far, not just through the first 2 games, but really since about mid-February for your Vancouver Canucks. So we're going to talk about it today, because for the most part, this question the answer has been they probably can't re-sign this guy, but we're going to talk about why the Vancouver Canucks should seriously reconsider re-signing Nikita Zadorov in free agency, what the cost might be and what cost might make sense for the Canucks and Zadorov. We'll also talk about, again, some of the other questions too. Which free agents did they consider? We got Joshua, Phil Peronic, and whatnot as well. We're also going to touch on Thatcher Demko and more updates there, and they are not good updates. So we'll talk about the ramifications of that. And we'll maybe touch on the power play as well, because it's been a story through the first 2 games of the series. Lots to get into. But before we get into it, let me introduce my co-host, Kyle Bhawan. Despite having the flu, COVID, I don't know what you got, man, but you're doing it, having episodes. Your Canucks every 12 hours here on Locked On Canucks, buddy. How you doing?
Got to do it, man. It's the playoffs, man. We've been waiting a long time for this, and it is what it is, right? Sick or not, I'm going to pull up. You know what? This is a funny side quest, but I heard I was listening to the post-game show on the Sportsnet side after game 2, and there was a caller who got mad at Tyler Myers for not playing with the flu. He's like, I haven't called in sick in 25 years, and this guy's getting paid millions, and he's not playing with the flu. It's like, relax, man. Relax, okay? I guess what I'm trying to say is being sick as a man is really bad. It's really bad. You feel pathetic. I don't wish this upon nobody. Okay, real talk. Anyways, Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, doing this, talking about Nikita Zadorov. We talked about Zadorov and more a little bit this morning in the Discord. Okay, join the Discord, link in the bio. Remember to hit the like button on this video as well. And I'm thinking that this team needs Nikita Zadorov moving forward. Okay, we're talking about a team that just got good like 8 months ago. I still think this team needs swagger. You know what I'm saying? I don't want them to remove swagger from their lineup. That's what we talk a lot about, Joshua and Zadorov. And this Nikita guy, man, I don't know if anyone saw that interview with, or his press conference / after skate interview with the media after before game 2, but he just oozes confidence, man. And he oozes leadership as well. Straight up. And maybe that's a rare, not a rare thing, but a strange thing to say when it comes to Nikita Zadorov, but his style of leadership is a lot different and more importantly needed on this version of the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and Rick Tocchet's talked about it, and you can kind of piece the clues together since he joined the Canucks back in January of last year. And, you know, when he came in, he said this was a quiet team. It was a quiet room, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think Kessler did an interview this week on Sportsnet 650 radio and said that the 2011 team was kind of quiet too. But at the end of the day, Tocchet's point is that you need guys in that room to keep things light and keep things loose. And he name checks Zadorov again after game 2 in terms of, we need these guys to, make sure the situation aren't as tense. And you can tell Hoagland is probably a little tense right now, youngest guy on this team. Pettersson's obviously tense. We talked about that as well.
Mhm.
You need guys like Zadorov to be in the locker room during the playoffs. And I know it seems like Ian Cole's another one of those guys too. Connor Garland, one of those guys. But you need guys around the team, maybe just to keep the team in check and keep things loose. Because at the end of the day, you're playing a game for fun. But
Yeah.
it's easy to be stressing out in moments like this where you're in the playoffs and maybe things aren't going your way. You need some distractions aside from that. And Nikita Zadorov seems like one of those guys who provides that distraction. So that's the off the ice stuff. But on the ice too, I think one of the main reasons the Canucks should consider re-signing Zadorov is he's one of the most unique players in the NHL. I mean, 6'6", 250 pounds, hits like a truck, even when he's not trying to hit like a truck. Again, such a physical specimen. But you look at the offensive production as well too, Kyle. And, I have the numbers here since, for me, the big turning point for Zadorov was, that suspension. Right? He gets suspended on February 10th for hitting Lucas Raymond in the head, comes back on February 15th, and he has nothing eye-popping, but he has 5 goals and 10 points in 27 games. Those 5 goals were tied for 6th best on the team during that time. Only Miller, Besser, Garland, Höglander, and Pettersson had more. So he was tied with Cruz, tied with Dakota Joshua, more goals than Elias Lindholm, and then a barrage of other Canucks who, really hit the skids defensively. So, I mean, this guy can do it all. And again, 14 goals a couple years ago, or last year in Calgary as well. So, man, oh man, I'm leaning more and more towards the Canucks got to try to find a way to re-sign this guy because he's a big part of this team.
Well, think about it this way. If my numbers are correct, and I think they are, Nikita Zadorov, prior to the playoffs, had more points in his last 40 games than Filip Hronek. Think about that. And Zadorov brings this level of physicality. And I know maybe 60 games ago, there was this theory, and rightfully so, that Zadorov was also a defenseman full of mistakes. But I think there's something to say about Adam Foote's relationship with a lot of members on this D-corps. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, man, oh man, maybe Adam Foote can make guys clean up their game. And what happens when Nikita Zadorov cleans up his game consistently and then you throw in all his intangibles? Bro, he's an outlier player. And specifically speaking, I want to see the comments go off about this, but you can make the argument that he's been our second best defenseman so far through these first 2 games, the 2 biggest games in the franchise over the last 9 years. He's been polarizing. He's been really strong. He's been intimidating, okay? I think a big reason why the Vancouver Canucks are going to win this series is because of the wear and tear against the Nashville Predators, okay? They just blocked 30 shots. They also took about 50 body checks, 10 in which Nikita Zadorov was a part of over the last 2 games. He's a guy you need in your lineup, especially if he's playing the clean game. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to lock up a guy long-term and pay him a lot if he's going to give you that Myers type of output prior to the season. Again, those mistakes, those Lucas Spiza-like mistakes, if that part of his game is removed, Nikita Zadorov is a good player, a really good player. And that's surprising because when we got him for a 3rd and 5th round pick, I literally thought this guy was just a depth piece, just so we wouldn't have to play Friedman as much. And I'm convinced that a guy who scored 14 goals a couple years ago, a guy that, again, brings all these other things that a lot of players don't have in this age of the NHL is so important to keep around here in Vancouver.
Yeah, Colin, I think you make a couple good points there. First and foremost is the mistake part of it, right? Nikita Zadorov isn't just, we're pumping him up here, but he's not a perfect player, right?
Yeah.
And he does like to pinch. He does like to get in on the offensive zone, and that can result in, bad plays going the other way. He's had some pretty egregious turnovers as well. But it is a situation here where I think the good outweighs the bad by quite a bit. Which is not what we said about Tyler Myers when you make that Tyler Myers comparison. And we've made it here on this show too, Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day, that, Tyler Myers and Nikita Zadorov are similar in some ways. But again, I just think when you compare the 2 players, Nikita Zadorov is better offensively, at least at this point in his career. He's more physical as well. And I think he actually makes less mistakes than Tyler Myers too. But he does take more risks in terms of pinching. So, and two, like when I look at the Canucks penalty kill as well, Nikita Zadorov has blossomed into one of this team's most relied upon penalty killers. Average, this is just through 2 playoff games, but only Ian Cole right now is averaging more shorthanded ice time than Zadorov. And that's what, maybe if Noah Jules had stayed out of the box in game 2, that would have been a bit different. But again, this guy's killing penalties. He can produce offensively. And he's a huge hitter, like probably one of the meanest hitters in the NHL. And he's a great guy in the locker room. I mean, to me, the question is, if you're going to resign him, what's that cost going to be? What makes sense for both teams?
And you know, I hate to do this because I was so positive yesterday about Elias Pettersson. Okay, if you didn't see it, I did post a video late at night saying sorry for the words I used against Elias Pettersson. Okay, it's our time to believe in this guy. Okay, real talk, real talk. That being said, I got to bring it up. Okay, 11.6 million reasons why we may not be able to sign both Joshua and Nikita Zadorov. You know what I'm saying? Because again, if those two players are noticeable throughout the playoffs, game in and game out, for however long the playoffs are existing for this version of the Vancouver Canucks, bro, that dollar amount is going way, way up. And if you look across this roster, bro, and if you even look at the free agent list coming up, it's hard to replace those type of guys. I know it's only been 1 year, but real talk, it's really hard to replace the forechecking ability, the body checking ability of Dakota Joshua, and just the intimidation factor that Zadorov brings in and game out, and the skating ability. So I know this may bug a lot of people, right? Because it's the playoffs and we have a game tomorrow, and here we are talking about tomorrow. But I think we're only doing this because I'm convinced that Nikita Zadorov is going to have another strong game tomorrow at 4:30 against those Nashville Predators, a team that they got a car outside their building painted in Canucks color because they're going to let their fans smash it. That's unreal, dude. That's unreal. You know, they're playing games with us because you know how we came up to the U2 song, even though it's not really attached to the whole Nashville thing. I think they maybe took it personal, and now what? They're gonna evoke some riot-like behavior outside their arena in Game 3. It's great. The rivalry is brewing here.
Yeah, I love it, man. And honestly, from an objective point of view, I think that sounds kind of fun, man. But it is funny how Vancouver. If we did that out in Vancouver, people would be losing their minds, be like, "Oh, look, these Canuck fans are already getting ready to riot." But it comes with the territory when you've had those incidents happen in both 94 and 2011. I'm going to attach a dollar figure to this before we wrap up the segment
do it
here.
up.
When it comes to the Canucks re-signing Zadorov, I think I might have said this on the show before. Maybe the everydayers know this. I'm not quite sure. But I think something in that $4.5 million range per season, which seems kind of high. But the rumor is that Zadorov is looking for 5 years, $5 million, like somewhere in that ballpark, maybe even 6 years. That's too much of the Vancouver Canucks. But if they can even get him on a 4 year, 4.5, like the Chris Tanev contract from a few years ago, or heck, maybe even get off Mikheyev and give Zadorov the Mikheyev contract 4 years at 4.75. I think that's something that would make sense for the Canucks, and that's something that the team should strongly consider.
Man, oh man, it's gonna be tough getting this all done. And dude, is this a strong statement to say this? But man, oh man, like this may be the best version of the Vancouver Canucks for a couple of years. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because if they're getting surplus value from guys like Joshua and Zadorov before their cap hits go up, and a guy like Philip Hronek too, if you want to bring his name up in this conversation before, again, they all go up in salary, it's inevitable that all of those guys aren't coming back. They're not coming back.
Yeah, and maybe we'll touch on that later on the show. Like, let's wrap up with some comments and have some of those discussions. But on the other side, let's talk a bit about Thatcher Demko, the update there, and the Canucks power play. What can be done to fix it? Is it at least trending in the right direction? We'll talk a bit about that. Both those things on the other side. But before we do that, let's shout out our friends over at Monopoly Go. All right. You know me, Beggsy. I'm a cheap guy. No, that's a different ad read, but I'm also a competitive guy, okay? And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you can play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you the big money. Speaking of big money, Big Z, give him that big money. But on Monopoly Go, the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties just like in classic Monopoly, and I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboard shows me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play.
Man, oh man. When was the last time you played Monopoly? Answer that question.
I actually played Monopoly Go, like the card version, with my nieces and nephews last summer. They loved it.
That's a good game. That's a banger, bro. Okay, let's get back to talking about your Vancouver Canucks here on Locked On Canucks. People, we back doing this. Sick or not. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan at the Don't Doze Art Lab, giving you this episode of Locked On Canucks, the show that gives you your Canucks every day. Reminder, the Canucks play tomorrow, not today, okay? I saw Popeye Sailor with a comment asking what time the game is tonight. What are you smoking, bro? The game's tomorrow, and you're in the Discord as well. We keep you up to date. Let's get to more comments before we talk about Demko, okay? Because we had a lot of comments talking about this whole Zadorov thing, okay? Real talk. And this whole Joshua thing, okay? And look at this one. Look at this curveball. What if it came down to Hronek or Joshua? Who are you keeping? Again, Filip Hronek in his last 42 games, 12 points. 12 points. Keep that in mind. That being said, I think a big reason why, again, the Vancouver Canucks are where they are right now is because, again, they're the overall or their overhaul on the defense over the last 12 months. I know maybe Hronek's not picking up the points, but he does play a factor in allowing Nashville to win a game where they scored 4 goals on 13 shots. You know what I'm saying? Or 4 goals on 16 shots, whatever the number is. All in all, don't sleep on Filip Hronek's importance defensively. He's not the perfect player, but I don't want the Vancouver Canucks going into an offseason where they have to replace both Zadorov and Hronek. That's Ian Cole as well. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Like, obviously, and shout out to Anthemous for that question and the comment, but when it comes down to, when you keep Hronek or Joshua, the sexy choice is to go to Joshua, because look what he's doing right now, man. The guy is, we talk about Zadorov being a unicorn. Joshua's a bit of a unicorn as well, and we talked about that. Check out our game 1 recap if you want 10 to 50 minutes of us pumping Dakota Joshua's tires. But one of the reasons the Canucks are where they are is because of their defense, and coaching plays a part of it, but personnel also plays a big part of it as well. And I think Hronek's ability to move around the defensive zone makes him unlike a lot of other defenders on this team who are good positionally. They're solid, they're physical, but they're a little slow. And Hronek's quick on his feet. And that's a big reason why he's a good defender. Now, the points haven't been there, but let's not forget, the guy was on a freaking heater at the start of the season. What? 30-something points in his about halfway through the season, and just cooled off considerably over the second half. So between those two, it's not the sexy choice. I'd pick Hronek as long as that number's in the 7-ish range. If it starts getting 8+, then there's no way you can keep Hronek. But if Hronek's contract is in the low 7s, I'm definitely keeping Hronek over Joshua.
And look at this comment from Mother Knucker, straight from Texas, okay? Zadorov, a rare commodity today, okay? But Filip Hronek is replaceable. This team should keep Zadorov and Myers and find a replacement for Hronek via trade. And then Popeye Sailor also saying that we should keep Zadorov over Joshua. Nikita Zadorov, man, turning into a fan favorite. It's crazy because it's only been 2 playoff games, but I've definitely seen a change of pace and a change of overall game. I guess like overall NHL rating, right? I think he's went from like an 82 overall to like an 84.5 over the last 40 games. And I feel like that's a big jump. Anyways, let's talk about Thatcher Demko, okay? A lot of reports came out yesterday, and I think it was mainly one, but 2 people that I listen to pretty much not on the daily, but whenever I tap into the Canucks, these guys are always talking, okay? That's Kevin Woodley and Jason Bruff. I think that's what his name is, right? That's Bruff and Halford or whatever. Okay, Halford and Bruff.
Yeah.
They're talking about Thatcher Demko not coming back in round 2. Okay? So this is a week-to-week thing, and he's probably not going to be available in round 2. That being said, I did see a tweet this morning from Dan Murphy saying that Thatcher Demko is in Nashville. So, yeah, Beggsy, what are you thinking about now after all that information I just gave you?
Yeah, so the other 2 things I'll add to that is that, the big dog insiders, both Elliot Friedman, he said that he doesn't like what he's hearing on Demko, and then Darren Dreger from TSN mentioned that it's a significant injury. So, yeah, everything on Demko right now is not good. And, yeah, obviously Kevin Woodley, very dialed in this market, says he doesn't expect him back at all in rounds 1 or 2. There's no secret about it. This is a massive blow for the Vancouver Canucks. But again, they're in a series right now that's tied 1-1 against a team they should be better than. So it is really that cliched next man up, day by day mentality, right? And I'm going to mention this, and I mentioned it in some of the discussion before in the comments on YouTube Live before we hopped on the show here. Look at the goaltending right now in the Western Conference, and I know we're early. We're only a couple playoff games into or a couple games into the playoffs here. But a lot of the goalies in the West have not been good. Georgiev and Hellebuck in that Winnipeg, Colorado series, neither of them have been good. And then Hellebuck is going to win the Vezina this year, and he's allowed, 11 goals in 2 games? You look as well that Edmonton, LA series, and Talbot hasn't been good. Stuart Skinner had a brutal game last night. Those guys haven't been good, right? So, around the West too, Jake Ottinger in Dallas is another one. He hasn't been good either. So around the West right now, there is not a lot of good goaltending. Goaltending is weird. Casey Smith, again, numbers, his save percentage aside from this season, actually had a pretty good season overall. Again, I mentioned it before, pretty good at even strength, not so good on the penalty kill. I do believe in Smith to have a bounce back game, and he at least has the ability to help the Canucks win games. He may not steal games like Demko does, but with this defense and if this offense starts clicking, especially on Petter's front, this Canucks team definitely has the ability to win games with Smith in net. There's no question.
Yeah, but the question is this, like, does DeSmith have the ceiling to go on a heater? Does DeSmith have the ceiling to be that guy, like to be like an Aiden Hill or whatever? You know what I'm saying? I get what you're trying to say. You look at the goaltenders around the league, and most of them, again, are these guys that may have been backups 2 years ago. I just get concerned about DeSmith's style and, again, his overall ceiling. I don't see him as a guy who can, unless super protected. And remember, this guy allowed 3 goals on 12 shots. He was protected like no other goaltender in playoff history. It felt like that. Real talk. And we still lost the game. And can he be this goalie that gets momentum, gets on a heater if the Canucks play defense like that? Because as Kevin Woodley alludes to all the time, like most goaltenders, especially a guy like Casey, like they need to feel the puck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I share the same skepticism as well, Kyle. And, the Nashville Predators in general, and we haven't seen it in this series, have been a team that generates a quantity of shots and chances, but not necessarily a lot of quality, right? So they have, they had a higher expected goals than the Canucks coming into this series because of the quantity that they generated. So maybe that's part of the game plan. Maybe the Canucks do just kind of collapse in the middle a bit, allow more shots from the outside to let Smith feel the puck. Like maybe that is part of the game plan going forward for your Vancouver Canucks here.
Or Shelovs, man. Like what happens if the Canucks lose game 3 and Shelovs' ceiling is, in my opinion, a lot higher.
Yeah, but that is something else. Throwing a goalie with 6 career NHL games into a playoff series.
Cam Ward.
It's happened in the past. What was it? Anthony Niemi in Chicago as well. It has happened in the past. Look, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but Jordan Binnington in 2019, although he was on a heater in the regular season.
Yeah.
Aiden Hill last year, and like I said, Anthony Niemi back in 2010. Like it has happened before. But man, oh man, and Matt Murray would be the other example too when Pittsburgh won the cup. So,
dude, Casey DeSmith, like he needs to just he needs to go on a walk or something, to go to a nice country bar and eat some like Nashville hot chicken and have a couple pints and start dreaming about making the most money ever. You know what I'm saying? Because that option is available for him if he goes on a heater. Like he could change his whole life. And I want to bring this question up too, Trevor, because this may be a reality, right? Like you just mentioned all the goaltenders in the league and how much success some of these quote unquote no-name goaltenders have had in recent history. If the Canucks do make it to round 3, now we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do you want the Canucks to rush Demko back? You know what I'm saying? Like, based on what you're telling me, this injury may be super significant, and we already kind of saw what happened with Mikheyev a couple years ago. I know different tier of player where they kind of opted out to not have the surgery and whatnot. I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you rushing Demko back this year versus the long term? Because we had a comment here that was really funny too. I love this comment. We got the smartest fans ever, man. This is why you got to hit the like button on the video, okay? The Vancouver Canucks should put Thatcher Demko next year on LTIR during the last 2 months of the year. They should pull a Vegas. No, real talk. This guy gets injured a lot, and I'm just thinking of like all these scenarios. But let's just stick to the normal question. Are you rushing Demko back? Because this may be bad. We're talking about a guy who injured the same knee 7 weeks ago.
Okay. And the scenario that you're suggesting where the Canucks make it to round 3 without Thatcher Demko, I'm probably not rushing Demko back because things are working. Things are working with whoever's in net if the Canucks are able to go to round 3 with DeSmith and or Artur Shelovs. And yeah, shout out to Japan 4 in the comments as well. The other thing on my mind is what if it's an MCL or an ACL? Like that's, again, we mentioned before, like a 6 to 12 month recovery time. And they're talking about week to week right now. Like maybe there's just absolutely zero chance that Demko's back anyways, right? We just don't know right now What I do know is that we're getting into the stretch drive here on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Kyle, on the other side, let's get to a couple more comments, and I want us to each suggest one change to the power play and talk a bit about what's going on there. Before we do that, let's shout out our friends over at Indeed. All right, you know the deal. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team as well? If you're building a talented roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you could do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessment, and virtual interviews. And you know what else Indeed's got is they got Instant Match, baby. And I'm not talking about a dating site, okay? I'm talking about a business site, okay? Sometimes there's, stuff going on in the workplace. But anyways, I digress. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in a search, according to U.S. data. Indeed does the hard-hitting work for you. Sponsor a job and we'll match you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description when you post. With Indeed, you can start hiring fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
People, we back here at the Don't Dose Art Lab talking about your Vancouver Canucks here on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bhawan. That guy right there is Trevor Beggs doing his thing, being a family man. And man, oh man, I got to tell you about something, okay? I told people on the Discord, we helped design Randy Janda's t-shirts in regards to the Scott Road Sellies that happened in Surrey. I don't know if you guys are from Surrey or know anyone in Surrey. You don't need to be from Surrey to have this shirt, but look at this shirt, okay? Our studios helped design this shirt. Shout out to Randy Janda. Shout out to Dude Soda. I'll put the link in the bio after this video is done being live. But man, oh man. There you go. Support Surrey, okay? Go Canucks, go. And hopefully they're celebrating tomorrow around, I don't know, like 7:30, 7:45 when the game ends, right? Because I know we just talked about the whole Demko thing and him being out for 1 round, 2 rounds, 8 months, who knows? But as Trevor alluded to, goaltending is so weird in the playoffs in recent NHL history, and we're playing Nashville. There's a lane here for the Canucks to beat Nashville. They got to get Pettersson going, and they got to get this power play going. And there's a big chance that could happen. Look at the skill on this team, okay? That being said, what changes do you think have to happen for this power play to convert? Because right now they're 0 for 6, and I'm pretty sure they're averaging negative 1.6 shots per power play.
Honestly, and this might be overly optimistic, but I felt like, especially with the last couple of power plays in game 2, that this power play is close to break it through. Now, they do need to get more pucks on net. Obviously, Pettersson hit a post as well there, but that power play in the third period when they needed a goal didn't score, but they were absolutely buzzing, and I felt like they were going to score. So there's definitely a part of me that thinks that this power play is just close to breaking through now. There's a part of me that's also that's overly optimistic because this power play hasn't been good for a couple months. So I'm going to suggest one change because this is the Nikita Zadorov episode, okay? Why the Canucks re-signed Zadorov. Why don't we try this guy at net front on the power play, okay?
Oh my
Let's
God.
swap out Connor Garland, get Nikita Zadorov at net front, and let Hughes, Besser, Miller, and Pettersson do their thing, direct pucks to the net, and let's see if Beggsy can clean up some stuff in front. That's a bold change, but I'd love to see it, Kyle.
Dude, why not just put Joshua there who has soft hands and is almost as big as Zadorov? Like, not really, but you know what I'm saying? All in all, like, I think that has to be the biggest change. Like, again, the Vancouver Canucks, I think Rick Tocchet for a long time has overthought the process on this power play. Real talk. Changing it up too much. It makes no sense. And now what's happening is you're facing one of the shortest goaltenders in hockey, and you're choosing to put Connor Garland in front of the net. It makes absolutely no sense. They got to get Joshua up there. The other thing is, again, I'm trying to keep it positive, especially with Pettersson, but a big reason why the Canucks power play has gone downhill over the last 45 games is because Elias Pettersson has also gone downhill.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. It's not pocket science, okay? Just get this guy going somehow. It's the truth, man. But yeah, I'd love to see Joshua in front of the net. And, you know, he has soft hands. And if it's not Joshua, why not Lindholm? Remember, Lindholm's first game against Carolina this year with the Canucks, he tipped home 2 goals on the power play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's my other thought with this too. If you did have Zadorov at net front on PP1, I think on PP2 you could keep the Lindholm Joshua Garland line together on PP2, and they've shown some chemistry so far. I like to see what they could do on power play too. Yeah, Hronek at the point. I think right now, and you've seen it so far in the first two games, Quinn Hughes has often just stayed out on the ice for the second power play unit. So maybe your first unit is Hughes, Miller, Besser, Pettersson, Zadorov in front. Your second unit is Lindholm, Garland, Joshua, Hronek, and Hughes at the point. So
Wow.
that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
That's how bad
Hughes
it's
stays
gotten.
up there.
We're praying that our second unit converts.
But that's the thing, right? Come on, Kyle. Like other good teams, and we brought this up a couple months ago. Every day is no good teams have two power play units that can score, right?
Really?
And I know there's the Edmontons. Well, like Dallas and Carolina are the two prime examples where though both those teams have second units that have contributed over 10 plus goals this season. You want to have a good power play and an insurance policy in your power play. You need a second unit that can score. And the Canucks just haven't had that. And, with my suggested strategy, maybe that's the case. But again, I'm just a dude talking here, all Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. So what do I really know?
Man, oh man, right? We're just dudes, man. I got called out in one of my TikToks in regards to some of the assessment I made after game 2. This guy was like, the Canucks should listen to this guy. This guy's the next coach of the Vancouver Canucks. Hindu Talkit. Remember Mother Nucker made that poster of me?
Yeah.
Hindu Talkit. Obviously,
Shout
we
out
don't
to
know
Mother
ish,
Nucker.
okay? Trevor's played 14 ice hockey games in his life, and he just started playing ball hockey, okay? I've only played ball hockey. I know, we don't know
Oh,
ish.
man.
But one thing I do know is this power play sucks. It sucks ass. Can I say that? Okay, I'm sorry, okay? I went there. I'm so sorry. It sucks. And I just think it's so backwards having Connor Garland in front of the net when you're facing one of the smallest goalies in the league. It's funny to me. UC Soros is probably loving it. It's like, thank you. Thank you for putting Connor Garland here. Man, oh man. Okay, let's get to the comments before we get out of here. Look at this comment from Elston, okay? Dan Murphy reported Demko traveled to Nashville. We talked about that earlier. He's also saying, how hurt could he be if he's traveling, right? You never know. And look at Ryan Hernandez, okay? You know what? I'm going to call my grandma in El Salvador and tell her to do some voodoo stuff for Demko healing and the Canucks winning the cup this year. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks are winning the Stanley Cup. I don't give up. Okay, it's happening. It's happening. And I'm assuming that Demko is in Nashville because we're talking about a tight-knit team, right? They're comrades. The camaraderie is at an all-time high, and maybe he can help Casey out, Speaking of helping Casey out, did you see this video of Canucks fans pep talking Casey DeSmith? Was it chill or cringe? Was it the video that the Hockey Shop made? I think I posted it in the Discord as well. All in all, I think I alluded to this yesterday too, right? The chance in game 2, Casey DeSmith, let's go Casey, let's go Casey, let's go Casey. The guy didn't make one save. It was loud as F. And what happened 10 seconds later? He let in a goal, right? And I was kind of mad about it. Whereas Trevor was like, let fans be fans, right? And I want to say sorry for being mad at it because you're right, man. For years and years and years and years, here on the West Coast, the best coast, we always looked at Rogers Arena and that fan base in the arena as a quiet group. And what am I going to do? I'm going to ridicule them for being loud. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to connect it to this point. Game 5, back at Rogers Arena. It's going to be loud as F because it's going to be an elimination game for the Nashville Predators. You know what I'm saying? We kick them out of the playoffs next week. And it's going to be loud because your Vancouver Canucks this weekend are going to go 2-0. Okay? My name's Kyle Bhawan. That guy right there is Trevor Beggs. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Locked On Canucks. Please hit the like button. It really does help us out a lot. One love to the Don't Do's Art Lab for giving us that West Coast bias and allowing us to do this show. Join the Discord, the link in the bio, and pray for me that I get better, man. I'm tired of being sick, bro. I turn into a pansy, bro, when I'm sick, okay? Anyways, Beggsy, sign us out.
All right, buddy. Get home early today, man. Unbelievable. And for all you listening, shout out to all you. Locked On Canucks ain't nothing without you, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener, a first-time listener, a new subscriber, or you joined us on the live show on YouTube. Again, we appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow morning previewing Game 3 in Nashville. Maybe talk about what we've learned from the series so far, but more importantly, what we want to see from the Canucks in Game 3 in terms of changes they got to make, or maybe even some lineup changes as well. But no matter what, we'll be there for you tomorrow morning. Talk about your Vancouver Canucks here on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. But we do got to get out of here for now. Thanks for listening. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
And thank you, JS, for the super chat, man. JS, always keeping it positive out here, man. Keeping it simple, man. It's all about go Canucks go. Okay, and Elias Pettersson, last time I checked, was on your Vancouver Canucks. So let's give him some positive vibes, okay? Anyways, peace.
Your Locked On